Welcome to our Energy Connect studio at EGYPS 2023. I'm delighted to have sitting next to me Milton Catelin, Secretary General of the International Gas Union, and Mickael Vogel, Director and Head of Research of Hawilti. Thank you both for joining me today.
Pleasure to be here. Pleasure.
And you've both just jointly launched a report. Congratulations, and I want to hear more about it. First with you, Milton, what is the IGU's position on the role of gas in the global energy transition? And how does that translate into the African context?
Sure. Well, our starting point at IGU is that gas is the key to decarbonising the economy. It is far less polluting in greenhouse terms than the alternatives of coal and wood and oil. And it provides a platform in terms of baseload energy for the introduction of renewables, etc. And the industry itself is decarbonising itself. It's investing in its future. It's investing in the hydrogen economy. It's investing in carbon capture. And it's investing in blending its own product with other renewable and low carbon gases.
Great. Mickael, can I get you here on what are the main and most important findings from the Gas for Africa report?
Sure. So, I think globally we agree that gas has a major role to play in the energy transition, decarbonization, and all of that. The problem with on the African context is you need to start addressing energy poverty, right? So you need to bring energy access before you can decarbonize anything. And so the starting point for us is to understand what energy poverty actually means, which means people speak about 600 million Africans that have no access to electricity, lack of access to clean cooking. What we are saying is energy needs to mean growth and industrial development. If you understand energy in that sense, you start to realize the role that gas can play in, decarbonization, in baseload electricity generation, in gas-based industrialization, the development of energy-intensive industries, and so on.
Great. And I want to bring you in here, Milton. How are the current global gas dynamics around prices and supply affecting Africans' investment prospects?
Well, I think the future looks bright for African investment. I think it's been a difficult 12 months, as we all agree. But I think it's these 12 months with the sharp price shock from the Russian supply shock have been regrettable. They've really come on top of a decade of lack of planning in terms of energy access and energy security by governments around the world. But I think Africa is well placed. It has 8 to 10% of the world's natural gas reserves. And they will be needed to rebalance supply around the globe, as well as to be used in terms of developing industry and business within Africa itself.
Great, yeah, and we want to touch back on what you were saying earlier about defining what poverty, energy poverty. What do you mean, or what do we mean when we say that Africa is an energy poor continent?
So this is the most important thing to get, right? You have a continent that has the lowest electricity consumption per capita in the world, the lowest CO2 per capita emissions in the world as well. And so if you want gas to actually have an impact, you need to start by reorienting that towards the domestic market. The situation at the moment is most of Africa's gas is exported. North Africa obviously consumes a lot at home, but if you look sub-Saharan Africa, you have up to 80% of the gas in Mozambique and Nigeria that goes abroad, and up to 60% in Angola, Cameroon, and Equatorial Guinea. So you need to start to reorient that towards the domestic market and address key barriers to development, like access to finance, lack of infrastructure, security risk. And so what we've done with the IGU over the past few months is come up with a set of guidelines of the solutions we think are needed to unlock that potential moving forward.
Okay, that's really interesting, and I think that could be really helpful, one, for the continent and the industry itself to see these guidelines. Just a final point, how can Africa, Mickael, in your viewpoint, turn its natural gas reserves, which can be plentiful in certain different countries, into actual sustainable economic development? Because I think that's the sort of missing.
Sure, so I think, that's where we can probably both tune in. So in terms of these solutions we have, right, what we are seeing is some of the key ones that are, one, future-proofing your infrastructure project, especially future-proofing by design. So as you develop your projects, make sure that it is aligned with the just energy transition and compatible with the Paris Agreement. We also come up with key things about encouraging regionalization. We've talked a lot about that in the context of Egypt. And we actually, in sub-Saharan Africa, the needs are massive, but we are saying you need to start small. Look at small-scale gas technologies, small-scale ventures that can navigate risks more easily, and then you can scale up as you move forward. And I'm sure there's even more that we can do, but we've actually started with those. Yeah.
And I think one thing that countries should be doing is being very careful with the negotiations they undertake with the major oil and gas companies around the world. I mean, everybody can profit from this situation. But countries in Africa need to ensure that some of those profits are retained in their countries for poverty eradication, for economic development, etc. And that's a win-win situation for the major oil and gas companies and for the African people.
Great, thanks, Milton, Mickael. And I assume the report I've seen a sort of executive summary at the show. It's online as well.
It is online. It is online on the IGU website, and there's a copy for everybody. So
It's a must-read.
Great. Well, I really appreciate both of you giving me your time on day 2 of EGYPS to come speak to me and talk about the report and what's going on in Africa.
Thank you
so
very
much,
much.
Julian.
Cheers.